All right, welcome back to Speaking with Confidence Part 2 as we continue Chapter 2. In the earlier session, we talked a little bit about speaking anxiety and how it's an anxiety that everyone has in some various levels of degree. We started talking about some things that you could do to help lower your speech anxiety level. So we're going to continue that discussion now. So one of the things that we'd started to discuss was the importance of having an effective strategy, right? Understanding and knowing that you have speech anxiety is only the beginning. We can develop roadmaps and put strategies into place that says, you know what, this anxiety happens when this occurs. And as a result, I can do the following things to help lower that anxiety either before it happens or while it happens, when it happens. And so we want to look at some further strategies for that. So a few key strategies that our text outlines is knowing your audience and the importance of knowing who actually is in your audience. Don't procrastinate. Topic selection, the importance of preparation, being organized, knowing your introduction and your conclusion, in making practice real. Now we're going to look at each of these briefly. So the first strategy is knowing your audience. So who are they? Who is in the audience? How many people will be there? Right? The answers to those questions are going to help you decide the appropriacy of humor. Humor is one of the best things that you can use to lower your speech anxiety. Tell a joke. Make a joke. Those things make the audience laugh. If you can do that, you will lower your speech anxiety tremendously. However, you need to understand who is in the audience and how many people are going to be there to understand the appropriacy of humor. Also, the same thing with appropriacy of language. Who is your audience? Is your audience a group of business professionals who are meeting for an academic conference? Well, your language is probably going to want to be very professional in those regards. Your use of humor is probably going to be tailored in a very specific way. Whereas if your audience is a group of your peers, a group of students that you might see in any of your college courses, then that changes things. Your use of humor can be a little bit different. Your use of language can be different. And so those types of things can help you be successful, but you have to start by understanding who is your audience and the importance of that. The second item is about procrastination. It's probably the worst thing you can do when it comes to public speaking. I love this meme. After this episode, I will continue studying. Oh, look, another episode in 5, 4, 3. Right? I do this all the time. I'm watching Netflix and then it pops up and it says, "Are you still there?" Yes, I have nothing going on in my life. I have watched 6 episodes in a row and I'm still here, right? Procrastination is the worst thing that we can do. Don't put it off. Actually, the best speakers are the people who actually plan it through, who are very detail oriented, who start their research and then they practice. And those people who don't procrastinate, understandably, are probably going to be better prepared, and as a result of that, they're going to have less speech apprehension. Now, the next topic of importance is the topic selection. How do you select a topic? And that's an important question that students often ask me. They say, well, this speech that we have on this and that, what should I select? What kind of topic should I choose? I always tell students, topic selection is probably the most important choice that you can make. How do I select a topic? Well, find the little middle ground here, right? Choose a topic that falls in here. So a topic that you know, a topic that you love, and also a topic that your audience cares about. So you should always make sure that you're picking topics that you have some knowledge about. Now, you don't have to be product experts or knowledge experts there, but you need to know something about it ahead of time. If you're giving a persuasive speech or an actuation speech like you're going to be giving at the end of the semester, you need some prior knowledge of that topic. You will not be able to persuade anyone to see a topic in a new light or in a particular way if you don't have any prior knowledge of that. So you need to know something about the topic. Now, I always tell people, pick something that you're passionate about, because when you're passionate about something, it is so much easier to speak to people about those topics. But at the same time, you have to balance that with, again, we're going back to audience here, understanding who your audience is, because audience is important. I recently had a student, he was in actuarial science, and to explain that briefly just simply means it was like the field of risk science. You see a lot of accountants, they do it in accountancy agencies, things like that. It was a topic that he knew, and it was quite honestly a topic that he was really passionate about. He wanted to be in actuarial work. He wanted to be a scientist in an actuarial field. The word itself is hard to say, actuarial, right? And I warned him, I said, but you have to be very careful, because who's your audience? He's like, well, my classmates. And I'm like, absolutely. And your classmates are sophomores and juniors at the University of Wisconsin. Are they going to be interested in, are they going to care about actuarial science? He was like, probably not. Well, that presents a big risk, because if your audience doesn't care about it, if you can't get them interested in it, then they're not going to listen to a word that you say, regardless of how much you know about the topic or how much you love the topic. And that was exactly what happened in that instance. He gave a very informed speech. He was passionate about it, but no one cared. No one listened. They were thinking about those 5 things that we mentioned in our presentation earlier: hot guys, girls, hamburgers, Christmas gnomes, beer, and bathrooms, right? They were thinking about all those things they had going on in their life because it was a topic that they didn't care about. So find that space right there on all your topics, and you'll be given a very successful speech. The next thing is the importance of preparation. Now, it sounds common sense to say that preparation is key, but it really is. I often tell students the number one thing that you can do to become a better public speaker is to be more prepared. So by far, it's the most important element of public speaking. So how many times are you practicing your speech? As a general rule, you should spend about 1 hour of preparation and rehearsal for every minute you will be speaking. So if you're going to have a 4-minute speech, then you're going to at least practice for 4 hours. Now that sounds like a lot of time, but if you sit down and you actually start practicing this and you go through the steps, you will find that it really isn't a lot of time. You will also find that you do better as you practice. I mean, again, preparation is key. It is not rocket science. The better you prepare, the better you will present. Also, use a tape recorder or videotape yourself. You all have access to computers and smartphones and things like that. In fact, you're doing this course online, so I know you have access to those. Tape yourself and then play it back, right? Listen to yourself. You will learn a lot about your process of presenting if you do that. That will help you get a very accurate picture of how you speak. And then you can start to work on things like tone and volume and different elements like that, which we will talk about as we move forward in our semester. Being organized is also very important. I would imagine this is how many of your desks looked as you ended your last college semester. Or maybe that's how your desks look right now, right? A lot of stuff going on. It is very hard to be successful in life in general if you are not organized. Organization helps us because we need to make sure that our speeches flow well, that our audience can follow along, that they're not listening to us and saying, what the crap are they talking about, right? If we are organized and our speeches flow well, then naturally our speech anxiety is going to be a lot lower. So develop a well-organized message. Have a layout that works, a logical outline. That's why I require you guys to do outlines for the class so that you can work through that process ahead of time so you know what your speech is going to look like. And then practice it, practice it, practice it. Introductions and conclusions are probably the most important aspects that I can stress of a speech. It's common sense, really, if you think about it. An introduction is the very first thing that your audience hears. So if you bore them from the very beginning, why would you expect them to be listening 2 minutes in? Right? They've already zoned out. They're thinking about one of those 5 things. So if you really want your audience to pay attention and to listen to what you have to say, you have to capture their attention. So you have to do that in a creative way. So those are going to be, that's the hardest thing for students to also do. But it's something that with practice and preparation that you will become better at. Same thing with a conclusion. You don't want to just stop a speech and say, "Whoops, that's it, I'm done." Right? You need to have a conclusion. You need to have some final thought, some recap, something that leaves a lasting memory or impact with your audience, because that's very, very important. And that will also help lower your speech anxiety. And moving forward, a very last thing is to make practices real. And you can do that by, one, know the space that you're going to be presenting in. Is it a classroom? For you guys in an online setting, you need to find a quiet space somewhere that you can present. Try to find a neutral backdrop that allows us an easier opportunity to see you. That is going to be something that will help you and lower your speech anxiety if you know the space ahead of time and you're familiar with it. Time yourself. So the speeches, upcoming speeches, will have time components, and it's an important element that you fall within those time components. So one of the ways that you can ensure that you do that is to make sure that you time yourself. The third is to visualize the audience, right? So again, identifying who the audience is, knowing who the audience is, who's going to be there, seeing them as you practice, right? Knowing that these are going to be the people in the audience will help you develop a flow as you present. And lastly, visualize success, right? As you practice and as you prepare, don't flood your brain with negative thoughts about how horrible this is going to go, about how nervous you are and how anxious you are. Visualize that you're going to have a successful speaking engagement, and you will. Right? Audience space is important, right? You don't want to walk into this space for the very first time and realize that this is where you're going to be presenting and this is going to be your crowd. I made this mistake this past semester, actually, when I was asked to speak to a student group on campus at the University of Wisconsin. I was happy to do so. I'd spoken to other student groups before, but they'd always been in a standard typical classroom with about 25 students. I'll walk into this and there are 130 students in a stadium-style seating lecture hall, and I wasn't prepared for it. My heart raced. I got very nervous. I had those physiological symptoms of stress as a speech teacher, believe it or not, because I wasn't familiar with that space. It shocked me to walk in and see that for the first time, and I had to adapt on the fly and realize that those are changes and things that I should have been aware of, especially since I teach students to do this as well. Now, lastly, remember that you will make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, and that we will move forward and you will move past those mistakes. Let's take a look at a few news bloopers as we end Chapter 2.
Good afternoon from the 7 Newsroom. I'm Jacqueline Felgate.
We have not gotten into the worst part of this storm yet. That is to come a little bit later on tonight. So obviously here at the College of Charleston, they're already having a good time.
I compare winter to be the Justin Bieber of seasons. It was kind of cute and exciting when it first started out, and now it's a bit obnoxious and should probably just stay in Canada.
Not really more accumulating snow, but just a biting, granular, kind of slushy, icy snow.
We're going to have people that are going to be dying over the next couple of days. We were going to be losing our heat in many of our homes. People will be making poor choices.
Reporter Kristen Thorne is in Smithtown in Suffolk County tonight. She continues.
You see a gentleman there with gas. He's trying to, what are you doing there, sir? Trying to keep your heater going? I'm sorry, what? Is that Deidre?
Oh,
okay,
I'm
we're
so
gonna
sorry,
take this
Deidre.
away. Yeah.
And I said, what are you doing running? You're saying it was really good out?
It's the perfect texture for running. Very low impact on its dry snow, so your feet don't get wet.
Well, go ahead and keep on the run. And sorry to have kept you, but I appreciate you guys talking with us. All right, thanks. We've seen a lot of people out here, like you said, running, sledding, just enjoying it. One thing, oops, that can happen.
The barn was only used for 2 weeks of the year for breeding, so it wasn't insured.
Things are going to happen that you don't expect. You just got to overcome it and continue on, and you'll be okay. All right, I hope you have learned a few things that will help you overcome your speech anxiety regardless of what level of anxiety that you have. Any questions or concerns, reach out to me. I'll be happy to help.